Hello, my Archfiends of Chaos. This is your King of the Night, Vince Valentine EX Turk. And we're going to be talking about the DLC stuff that's going on with Final Fantasy 15 in March. Now I have reacted to the trailer of the new DLC that's going to come. My predictions and stuff like that. And this will also be discussing why I hate Chapter 13 so much. And they would have done better if they would have kept the DLC content in the game instead of just taking it out because they felt like, oh, there's too much Versus 13 stuff in it. Well, yeah, of course, yeah, you're going to have to take that down, but you can record and put more stuff in it. But nonetheless, it would have been a much more completed game if they had kept the DLC in it. And that's just what I gotta say about that, if they would have just kept the DLC in it and made it along. Now, I agree with Tabata, though, on one thing. I'm not saying he is God or anything like that, or what he does is good or perfect. In fact, Chapter 13 was the biggest fail he's ever done in Final Fantasy 15. But I do got to point it out that, I don't want to eat sequel either, because that's the problem Final Fantasy 13 has, because each sequel had less of a gamer score than the last one. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Final Fantasy 13 too. Final Fantasy 13 2 was the best game in the Final Fantasy 13 saga. It was even better than the original Final Fantasy 13. Like, seriously, I could play Final Fantasy 13 for 3 hours a day. It was that entertaining and captivating. And especially the villain was really, really good in Final Fantasy 13 too. But making a trilogy is kind of doing it overboard. And then after that, Lightning's Return came out, which is pretty much I call the Final Fantasy's Majora's Mask. Good game. I love Lightning's Return, but it wasn't as good or captivating as 13-2 was, and that's just my opinion. Now, before we get mad and get on the keyboard going, how dare you, Devin? I'm triggered! Before we get triggered up here, I'm just saying that Lightning's Return was not as good as 13-2. Just saying. And that's for making all too many sequels. That's why I'm glad in Final Fantasy VII, after Dirge of Cerberus, they didn't make any more games. Now, there are fan novels of that, and that's okay, because, again, canon material is what we mostly talk about on here, so it does not matter. You can make dozens, you can make billions on billions of fan fiction, and you know what, I'll read it, and if I like it, I'll grade it and say, and praise you, say, if I don't like it, I'll just say, well, you just need to work on this, and work on that, and work on this, but nonetheless, I don't really care about fan fiction right now. I'm talking about canon, so Chapter 13, I guess we'll just go ahead and get into Chapter 13 rant, then talk about the DLC, and how Final Fantasy 15 can fix itself. Now, the DLC, Chapter 13, everything was abrupt. I mean, going to the Magitech Factory was good. I like fighting Idolus in like a new demon form. I like fighting Ravus. In fact, Ravus was my top, fighting Ravus was the most toughest boss in the game. Like, seriously, I spent 14 Phoenix Downs, 14 Elixirs, just to beat Ravus. But, Ravus was the only strong boss. Okay, now, after you defeat Ravus, you go to the Crystal, you learn about Ardent's Pass, the Star Scourge Pass, all that stuff's dandy. Okay, no one explains exactly what happened within the 10 years Noctis was locked up in prison. In fact, it was kind of like Star Wars Episode 7 when you see Luke Skywalker on an island. Except the difference is, at least that was more explained than Noctis ended up in a prison cell after talking to Bahamut. Now, they could have added more right there. You don't have to have a trilogy, but you can add more right there. You can make the game better right there, which I hope this new DLC does. I hope this DLC will explain what happened with the 10 years. How did Arden get into power? And when did I know the Star Scourge already happened, but, when did Arden and Ifrit get into power? There has to be within the 10 years Noctis was asleep. Now, what I predict could have happened is they didn't go after Arden until they found Noctis, because Noctis was the only one who could stop Arden. I mean, even though Gladio's strong, Gladio's smart. besides him being a big, tough bodybuilder, alpha male, type that he looks like a brute, Gladiolus is actually pretty smart. He knows he can't take on Arden. In fact, they even try to take on Arden during the crystal thing in chapter 13, and they see Arden's face with the demon, Star Scourge and Chaos look. And they're like, oh, hell no. But no, seriously, I know that makes sense. That makes sense the way on Noctis, because they know Noctis is alive. That's cool. That's fine. But what happened in the 10 years? How did Arden get into power? How did Noctis get into the prison? So many unleft questions. And that's actually the real main reason why I hated chapter 13. Oh, as well as whatever happened to Idolus. We need to get to see Idolus transform into Feralus. How do we know that Idolus is still alive? Idolus could still be alive because we don't know if that's really Idolus or not. I mean, they said he was, but it's like we never seen him transform to Feralus, as we seen when Ravus transformed into Ravus Ontaria. That's what that form's called. I mean, I know you see parts of Ravus in there, but we actually do kind of see some transformation. Because after you fight him a couple of times, when you get down to here with Ravus turns purple. And the thing consumes him a lot more. The Ontaria form consumes him a little bit more. But we never see what happened to Idolus. How do we know Idolus is not still alive? Because we didn't see Idolus transform into Feralus. We didn't see him transform into Feralus. See, my beef with chapter 13 is nothing was explained. And if nothing's explained, that's going to be, of course, put a lower score. I'm pretty sure that Final Fantasy 15 would have been Game of the Year if they would have put at least some thought in that. The whole game was good. No hating. The whole game was good. I still play it today. I stream it. Look at my videos. I make over up to 200 videos of Final Fantasy 15 every, because I make one every day. But it's like, I gotta be quite honest. Chapter 13 was a don't. That's the only don't I gotta say to Tabata, Square Enix, and Final Fantasy 15. You guys would have made it to Game of the Year if you would have just put more detail in it. I know you had to cut the stuff out with Etro and Versus 13, which you already did in the most creative way. I mean, Etro is Eos. We have already established Etro is Eos, because both Etro, the goddess Etro, and the goddess Eos did something that was bad. Just changed the story. Eos was never meant to breed with humans, because that's what created the Lucius Kylan bloodline. And that's a theory before you guys smash those keyboards and break your keyboards through your anger. Just know that was a theory, but I believe in that theory. I'm invested in that theory. But nonetheless, yes, Eos and Etro did bad things. That's why they got locked up and killed, which caused a bunch of rippling effect of problems. And there's still the crest of Grim Reaper worship. As when you go in to get the car decal, you can actually put the Grim Reaper thing on your car. So they kept some stuff by toning the game down. I kind of wish they didn't tone the game down. Now, enough talk about Chapter 13. Chapter 3, all can agree Chapter 13 was bad. We can all agree Chapter 13 was bad. Let's move on to DLC. So, with DLC, I can't wait because there's going to be some backstory. We're going to know the truth, exactly where Prompto comes from, and the story of Prompto. So, I'm hoping that the boss will end up being Verstali. I'm really hoping that Verstali ends up being the big boss in the story of Prompto, because then that could be the reason why Prompto knows the truth, that he's an MT, and that his adoptive family didn't know about the abnormality that was in him, because Prompto lived in Crown City. Okay, Prompto lived in Crown City. He grew up in Crown City. Okay. So, it's something you wouldn't want to tell people in Crown City, but, this could explain it. Verstal could tell the truth to Prompto. Then Prompto defeats, either Prompto defeats Verstal, or after Prompto defeats Verstal, Verstall probably apologizes and regrets some things because, well, Prompto's the only family he probably has now. You know, like my theory about Idolus possibly being Queen Silva's ex-husband. Again, theory before we get mad. That Idolus and Queen Silva were once married, but Idolus turned very evil and corrupted by his own greed, even enough to turn himself into a demon, and that's why Queen Silva left. Because it's probably the same thing with Verstall. Verstall probably realized, like, you know what? Prompto's my boy. Prompto's my son. And then he gets soft and Arden kills him. I mean, I'd like the story to go that way, but it's probably not. Okay. It would be more impactful if it did, but there's going to be more backstory on Prompto. There's going to be more backstory on Core, Gladiolus, Ignis. And I'm hoping that there's actually more backstory on Idolus. We don't know exactly who Idolus is all the way. I mean, we know a little bit about Kingslave. If you watched Kingslave, then you know a little bit more about Idolus. But I'm talking about the people who did not watch Kingslave. Nobody knows who Idolus is. We need to have... That's why I think maybe an episode of Ravus would work. This is where an episode of Ravus would probably work. Because, you know, you'd be working closely with Idolus. Because, you know, maybe Ravus and Idolus go on a mission together. Because, well, I don't know. Something like that. You know... Or you interact with Idolus. Because if you can play episode Ravus, you'll be on the Niflheim Empire. Because he still served the Niflheim Empire until Arden killed Lunafreya. Then, you know, Arden went to go... then you know, Ravus went to get revenge on Arden for what he did to Lunafreya. You know. But nonetheless, it's like, this is why we could use episode Ravus, Nox Foray, as well. Not just because Ravus is a cool character, and he's one of my favorite characters in the series. But we can also use the episode Ravus because this could put more backstory on Verstall and Idolus. Verstall needs to get more into the screen. Because he's one of the top members, one of the top higher-ups of the Niflheim Empire besides General Glocka, Ravus Nox Foray, Emperor Idolus Outercap, Chancellor Arden Azunia at this point, of course. But I really do hope that the DLC really does fix the problems that Chapter 13 had. I'm really putting my stock in this, so I'm really hoping, please, Tabata, make this DLC so great that it makes Final Fantasy 15 great again. We need this. This will fix what happened in Chapter 13. And I gotta say, may the crystal be with you. Have a nice day. Comment below what you think should happen.